Hey friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Ready, Set, Create. My name's Miss Nicole, and today we're going to do a little watercolor, which you could also make into a big watercolor, and we're just going to do some simple steps to make a quick piece of artwork. So what we'll need is yellow, orange, pink, purple, and blue, and then a darker purple or blue, which you can make with black, or you can make it using a thicker concentrate of pigment on your brush, but we'll get to that later. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start by lightly wetting our top half of our paper. And I roughly drew in my mountains here just so I have a guideline as we go. If you would like to pause and roughly draw those in too, very lightly with a pencil, so that way you don't see your pencil lines, you can always pause the video and do that at any time before we start painting them. All right, just real light. We just want to get a nice wet surface. It doesn't need to be puddles, just here and there. Then what we'll do is we'll get a lighter yellow, and down where our mountains start, we're going to start adding in yellow. And if you get it on your mountains, don't worry about it. We can always blend that into your mountains and make that disappear. The fun with watercolors is that you can mess with it a little bit even after you've put it down. All right, so I'm going to do about an inch on my little piece of paper here of yellow. Then I'm going to rinse off my brush and pick up some orange. And we want these to blend together, so I'm going over a little bit on top of my yellow. And then I'm going up further, so I have a good transition from yellow to orange. I need a little bit deeper orange. My orange looks a lot like my yellow. There we go. And this set of watercolors that I'm using today, I just picked up on Amazon. It was a cool little kit, and it has a lot of different colors to try. Even though they're small, they do go a very long way. All right, so with my orange here, you can see that it's uneven. I don't have a big stripe going across, and that's probably for the best because the colors in the sky don't always make a straight stripe going across. And so I'm just going to take some of the pigment from up there, bring it down here, make it a little uneven. You can see there's a little yellow strip through there. I'm just taking a little bit of the orange from the top and moving it down just a little bit by lightly taking my brush and going back and forth. Now I'm going to rinse off my brush and grab some pink. All right, I'm going to start right at the line because I don't want that orange line to dry. If it dries, I can always move it around a little bit, but it's nicer to get it blended in before it dries, just in case. Depending on the watercolor brand, it may not come up and you may see a line there, which is not quite as fun. So this time I'm going up the left side with a lot more pink than the right side. Remember, sunsets generally are not stripes going across. Then I'm going to take a little bit of light purple. And so if you only have one purple and it's a dark purple, how you can get it to be lighter is to add more water to it. So you can always take it on your brush, and a lot of times these sets come with some kind of mixing area, something that's metal that's attached, like the lid is good, but you can always add more and more water to your darker purple and it will become lighter for you. But I happen to have enough shades of purple and tones that I don't need to do that this time. And hopefully I can add this in. Okay. And so you can see while I was talking, there's a little line dried there. I'm going to see if I can move that around. And how you do that is by getting a clean brush, a little bit of water, and just going back and forth over it and see if it picks up and moves around with your brush stroke. It did. All right, so I have that little bit of purple, and now I'm going to get a medium to darker blue. And to keep your colors dark, you just use less water. So you do need a little bit of water if you're using pan paints to activate them. If you're using a liquid watercolor, it may come out super thick and you may just have to add a little bit of water to that just to make it more fluid. I am not loving this blue. I'm going to try this one. So this top here, I do want a darker blue because it's further away from the sun, so I want it to start getting a little bit dark. And I'm going to even bring this down into the purple, a little bit into the pink too. And I'm going to take a tiny hit of black, little hint of black to do very, very top. But I'm going to blend that in so it's not quite so obvious. And when you're painting something that you're going to use a lot of water and you're painting most of your paper, it's nice to tape it down like this because as it dries, the tape will stretch your paper back flat. So sometimes if you're painting, especially if it's not watercolor paper and it's something like mixed media, it'll warp and it'll bend and you'll have those ripples in it. But if you happen to have some kind of masking tape, you can tape down the edges even on a table because should come right off the table. If you're a student doing this, ask your parents' permission before you tape your artwork to anything. All right, so now we have our sky here and I'm pretty happy with how it's going. Next, we're going to use that dark blue or dark purple. I'm going to choose blue. Maybe I'll do purple. We'll do purple. All right, so for this, we're going to have our layers of mountains, and this is a good time if you haven't drawn them in, you may want to draw in some mountains. So I have 4 layers of mountains here that I'm going to be doing, so that means 4 shades of purple. And we're going to do the lightest shade in the back, and then this mountain up here is going to be the darkest. So I'm going to use the same purple for all of them. And how I'm going to do that is, nope. It turned blue. Now if this one's too dark, then you'll have to add some water or take a paper towel and dab it so that way you can lift some of the color off. I'm just going to carefully fill all of this in. Like that. So that's a nice lighter shade of purple. Alright, so the thing with watercolors is you can't do another layer next to it unless you want them to possibly blend together, which I do not want. So if I were to do my next shade of purple, my darker shade, it may blend into that and I may have uncrisp or not crisp lines going through this, and that's not something I want. So we're going to wait for it to dry and then I'm going to come right back and we'll do the next layer. Alright, so that layer has dried and I'm getting the same purple and I'm going to go and do this next mountain and make sure it's a shade darker. And if you make it a little bit darker along that top edge, that really helps to form the illusion that these mountains are in the distance and that they're further apart from each other. So we will let that dry. I painted this edge nice and thin so that way it dries quickly. And I have a little bit of this third layer on each side. So I have a hint of this mountain over here and over here. So then we take our paint, and I'm going to be able to do this side because it's only touching just a little bit of that mountain. even darker for this layer. So these two right here are going to match in intensity for the color that I'm using. I'm gonna even add a little bit extra shape to this one. I didn't like how smooth it was. Give it a more mountain appearance with rocks. Like that. And then this last mountain right here, I may have to add some black to mine. So if you get to where you're doing the last little bit and you just can't get your paint any darker, you can always add a little bit of black or a dark color that will complement it and not change it too much. So like the purple, I could put a very, very dark blue if that would help. But I'm just going to add a little bit of black. All right, and so my edges have dried. I'm filling the rest of this one in with this purplish black. Try to get it more purple than black. And with watercolors, sometimes you have to layer. So I may have to let this dry and go back over it to give it a nice thick dark coat. All right, and there we go. So we have 4 layers of mountain, a pretty cool sunset, and now our painting is complete. So you could take some white acrylic paint or some gouache and add stars just up at the very, very top if you wanted to, or you could just leave it plain. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and please like and subscribe if you would like to see some more. And happy painting, and keep creative.